Jeffrey.
Hello, Al.
Morning. We're live.
Good morning, Comrade.
One second. Sorry, it suddenly turned into a boomer. Like all of a sudden, I can't remember how to do anything.
I'm liking my little morning vibes here, though.
Yeah. But we're live, so good morning,
Nice.
comrades.
Good morning.
It is the 15th of June. Where did June go? Like half of June just disappeared.
Yeah, wait. How? Really? It's the Ides of June, is that?
Yeah. What's going on here? 2021. This is Good Morning, Comrade. Big Tuesday show. We have the one, the only, the fantastic, spectacular, wonderful, terrific, powerful Megan Romer joining us on the show today.
Incredibly powerful. It is known.
She has gone in the past month or so from, small town powerhouse to the Big Apple.
It's true.
She went to the biggest city and she sold us all out. What's going on here?
I know, it's so bad. I'm like the loudest voice for small rural DSA chapters, and here I am. Not just in the Big Apple, but I'm in Lower Manhattan DSA, which I'm actually not in Lower Manhattan. I'm on the Upper West Side, but it's the chapter or the branch is Low Man.
Low Man. Yeah. Smash the binary.
Truly wild. One of these days I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be a member in like a 500-person chapter, like a normal person.
You show up to a New York City, like Lower Manhattan DSA chapter meeting and talk about this is about Lafayette, Louisiana, damn it.
Like, will you people please prioritize the core periphery balance?
Yes, exactly. And
my God.
We got G Wolf and Torches and Pitchforks in the chat. What you eating? The yogurt?
It's yogurt. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. This was big, like, slide in exactly as you went live moment for me.
Perfect.
This morning with my breakfast and my messy hair and my coffee.
You're saying you have messy hair. Look at this. Look at this. Mine is not even in a messy bun. Well, anyway. Welcome to Good Morning to G Wolf and to Torches and Pitchforks in the chat. What's going on today? So, the funny thing is when you said yes to being on the show, I was just like, we've gone from your situation of bullying one mayor of all the way up until now you get to build de Blasio. You get to bully people, somebody that everybody knows.
It's true. Also, it's the mayoral the Democratic primary this week. So there's like a whole slate of people for me to bully. I could bully so many people because you know what? Just wanting to be a mayor is enough to warrant bullying, I think.
Taco Tuesday. Yeah, no, totally. Wanting to be, like Andrew Yang. And by the way, if anybody's asking to be bullied like more than anybody else on this earth, it's Andrew Yang. Like he's like the thirstiest boy I've ever seen in my entire life.
100%. And he's got the same. It's so funny. Andrew Yang has a slightly different politics, but the same vibe. as Lafayette Mayor Josh Guillory.
Oh, okay.
Lafayette Mayor President.
You need to explain this.
Okay. And part of the reason is because Lafayette Mayor President Josh Guillory ran for, I think Mayor President was the third office he ran for. He ran for Congress extremely unsuccessfully against Clay Higgins. I think he ran for a judgeship, but there's a pretty good Facebook page that's called Josh Guillory for Anything, Please. And like the banner is like his original like yard sign with the different offices crossed out and new ones written in as
That's
he
hilarious.
Finds a spot to be.
Yeah. So what's up there? What's going on?
I have an elderly family member who needed some help.
Mm-hmm.
And due to just being a bum who, I mean, yes, okay, I work 60 hours a week, but I do it from home. Right. So this home is as good as any.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am.
I mean, what's happening in the city? Like, what's the vibe up there? How's New York just sort of like generally? Like, how is
absolute complete 180 from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Okay.
Everyone wears a mask everywhere, which, okay, earlier in the pandemic, I felt like I was losing my mind because people would keep saying on the social medias, like, stop shaming the people who won't wear masks. It's like, it's not going to work on them anyway, but it's only like 20% of people maximum. And I was like, what the fuck? That's how many people, oops, where, okay, that's how many, are we streaming on the radio? No,
we're Twitch and YouTube right now.
Okay, good. Sorry. 30% max wore masks in Lafayette, and that was like at the peak, middle, like June of last year, like right in the sort of early mask wearing time. So yeah, it's people, but what's so fun is like people like me who are COVID cautious, like I can do stuff again. Like I can go to the grocery store myself and like browse and take my time, and you just wear your mask and everybody else is too, and it's really a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, for those of you who are like, most people comply, well, I can tell where you live. Or at least where you don't live.
That's a really interesting sort of like thing, not specifically for the like it is like specific for the COVID thing, one, but also two, like this idea of like there is kind of a New York City, like East Coast, big city, perhaps bubble that sort of like is a kind of key divide in like how people think about things. Like, oh, well,
absolutely.
Fuck those elites in the big cities that are like wearing their masks and like, they,
totally.
they eat yogurt for breakfast and, don't eat meat or whatever. like there is sort of like this like they're better than us sort of vibe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That like,
which is a deserved impression. I mean, this goes both ways, right? I mean, it absolutely does. And, New Yorkers and Bostonians and Los Angelinos and San Franciscans and probably even Chicagoans definitely have a like, we are the sophisticated urban elite. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I say those people, I absolutely mean like wealthy white people from those places, because you do not get the same vibe like in Black neighborhoods where people still have a bunch of cousins back home who didn't great migration. And there's still significant connection. Yeah. Or in immigrant neighborhoods where, similar sort of migrant and then homeland vibe. Mm-hmm. It's totally a white people thing. And yeah, it's not it's not great. I mean, it doesn't help. Though at the same time, I'm like, well, they're not wrong. But it's not helpful. So there's a I don't know. There's a dialectic happening.
Yeah, stuff's going on here. So as far as like things to cover for our stories today, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is about a week old. There was So ProPublica put out this report about a week ago. A trove of never before seen records reveal how the wealthiest people in America avoid income tax. And I figure we can just go through that a little bit together. Oh, wrong
It is
one.
truly wild.
Whoa. Hold on. I can't do tech. Jeff sucks at this. Not a professional streamer. All right, here we go. There we go.
Uh-huh.
All right. In 2007, Jeff Bezos, then a multimillionaire and now the world's richest man, did not pay a penny in federal income taxes. The man that wants to blast off into space just for shits and gigs didn't pay a nickel in income tax. He achieved the feat again in 2011, 2018. Tesla founder Elon Musk, the second richest man in the world, also paid no federal income tax. Michael Bloomberg managed to do the same in recent years. Billionaires investor Carl Icahn did it twice. George Soros paid no federal income tax 3 years in a row. ProPublica has obtained a mass trove of IRS data on the tax returns of thousands of the nation's wealthiest people, covering more than 15 years. The data provides an unprecedented look inside the financial lives of America's titans, including Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, Mark Zuckerberg. It shows that not just their income taxes, but also their investment, stock trades, gambling winnings, and even the results of audits. Incredible. So while many Americans live paycheck to paycheck, amassing little wealth and paying the federal government percentage of their income that rises if they earn more, in recent years, the median American household earned $70,000 annually. That sounds high, actually. And paid 14% in federal taxes. The highest income rate, 37%, kicked in this year for couples on earning above $628,000.
Just truly, who knew that writing checks to protesters was tax deductible? Way to go, Soros. Way to go.
You know, that's one of those things that like I'm a little bit salty about still. Like my Patreon's not looking so good these days. And come on, Georgie boy, hit me up. What's going on here?
I just keep hearing. I mean, to this day, that there's money to be had from Soros, and my checks don't come.
No, I've never.
So I don't know. Did you lose my address, George? Is it because I'm in New York? You can send him here. I don't care.
Yeah, find his house and just like knock on his door and say hello.
I know. You know what? I will say that if I end up in New York for a while, I do look forward to being able to like bird dog, like go to people's houses and yell at them.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to do that in Lafayette, Louisiana. Nobody lives there.
Yeah. Hilarious, like hilarious and horrifying, but like the second time I ever went to New York, by the way, this is like not related to this, but like the second time I ever went to New York, I went on like a trip. It was in January of 2017, sorry. And like, it was to an AFT, like my union had like a national like thing that was going on. And the JFK protest happened, and I basically just like took the subway by myself, which I'd never done before, all the way to the airport. Massive fucking protest. It was incredible.
That's a comrade right there.
Oh,
that's a comrade right there.
It was one of the wildest things. It was like so many people were like there. You know what I mean? Anyway, that was like not super related, but
I can't believe AOC didn't pick you up and give you a ride.
She wasn't a thing yet. She was not even a thing.
Oh, right, 2017.
She didn't exist.
Wow, right. Wild, right. It was the 2019 protest that.
No, 2017 was the Muslim ban. Like
right.
That like the week that like Trump took office, like the week I was in New York, and like when all the shit hit the fan.
Right.
It was my union was holding like a one of these things, like a conference or whatever the fuck, and I took the basically we were staying at World Trade Center, and I took all the way the A train all the way to JFK. It was incredible.
Oh my god, that's incredible. I mean, that's like an hour and a half train.
they actually did not let people on the air train, like the train that they would let you that you need for the airport to get to actually get to the airport. So like me and just a bunch of random people like decided we're gonna split an Uber ride, just like people that I'd met on the fucking subway that I'd never talked to ever before. And then like it turned out the driver of the Uber was like, I think he was Pakistani, and he was like, you know what, I'm not charging you for this ride. We're just going. It was dope.
I love that. It is really funny, you know, that the sort of thing that one of the big things everybody else gets wrong about New Yorkers is that they're not nice or they're not able to. The reality is just you have very little personal space here, right? I mean, most people are living in very small apartments. It's kind of tight. So you don't like get in other people's personal space right. And you ride the subway and you're like literally in each other's personal, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't do the thing on the street where you're like, pay attention to me. Give me emotional energy.
Blend in.
So like when you see people like smiling at you who are strangers, it's like, you're kind of in my social zone. Like, I can't expend emotional energy on you.
I'm walking here.
Right, exactly. So come on.
It's not even it's not even like a joke though. Like it's like literally, I'm just trying to fucking walk here. I'm literally
right. And well, like when stuff happens, New Yorkers pull together as much, if not more, than anybody else.
Yeah, totally.
So,
anyway, back to our article, I guess.
Back to dunking on rich people.
Yeah. According to Forbes, 25 people saw their wealth rise a collective $401 billion from 2014 to 2018. They paid a total of $13.6 billion in federal income tax in those years, the IRS data shows. That's a staggering sum, but it amounts to a true tax of only 3.4%. So poor people are paying 14%, and rich people are paying 3.4%. Warren Buffett. Okay, they have names here. Warren Buffett. You remember the guy that said, like, I pay less taxes than my secretary or whatever? Remember that? He pays 0.01% on taxes. Jeff Bezos pays slightly under 1%. Michael Bloomberg 1.3%, and Elon Musk, the big spender here, paying 3.27%. No one among the 25 wealthiest avoided as much as Buffett. The grandfather sent a billionaire. It perhaps surprising, given his public stance as an advocate for higher taxes on the rich. Ha ha! It's like he's trolling. By the way, like he's doing a little trolling. He fucking says that. According to Forbes, the richest rose 24.3 billion between 2014 and 20. I don't know. This is like one of those stories that like makes me just angry. Like makes me just like furious that like the wealthiest people in the world who have the most influence are paying essentially like less to the like government than we are. I mean, I'm not like expecting like it's like the most expected thing, I guess you could say, in like this capitalist structure where they literally call all of the shots. But like seeing it laid out in such stark terms is just like really shocking. Like it's just really shocking. It's a reminder of like how much power that they have. Yeah,
and it's a I often I go back and forth like, guillotine jokes aren't funny. I'm like at the moment I'm like, guillotine jokes are jokes.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Like
there's like a
it is absolutely yeah. No, I mean it's very infuriating. It is profoundly offensive, and it's not even just the money, right? Like I slightly buy into sort of the kind of MMT idea that money is fake now. We just print it. We just have to prevent inflation by taxing people. But also you have to tax rich people because they have too much power, because when you have that much money means power in a modern economy. It means it in an old economy too. People cannot be hoarding this amount of wealth. They cannot. And another thing that I'm mad about that dovetails with this is one of the big arguments that you're like stuffed suit business centrist type guys they like to make is, well, they're not actually liquid. Mm-hmm. They have all this money. It's fake. They're not actually liquid. Yeah. Who owns the most farmland in the state of Louisiana?
I just recently found out it's Bill Gates. What the fuck
it's
is going
Bill
on here?
Gates. Bill fucking Gates.
Like I literally just found that out like 2 days ago, and like I was kind of like my jaw kind of hit the floor. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
You know that Nazi Richard Spencer, the one who got punched?
Yeah.
Remember the great Nazi punching? Mm-hmm. He owns a huge amount of farmland in Louisiana. That's how he makes his money. It finances his fucking Nazism.
Really?
Yep.
You got to be rich to be a Nazi, I guess, right?
You got it. You don't have to, but it helps.
Right. Well, the most powerful Nazis are all rich as fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think this might be what you're talking about. It was Bill Gates, right? Like,
I mean, I'm not sure if he is the one who owns the most farmland in Louisiana, but he owns something like 17,000 acres.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge amount.
I found this out like 2 days ago. It's like a friend of mine, like texted me. Is like, is anybody like doing anything about Bill Gates buying up all of your land in Louisiana? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's going on here? I don't know what's going. What do you mean? And then she sent me this article. So like, I actually had not known this until like this is dated the 11th. This is dated like Friday.
I didn't know until it showed up on Twitter last week. Like I absolutely did not know. I knew there was like a thing where rich people buy farmland. Like I'd heard Margie Green talks about it. That like most farmland is owned by like a fairly small number of very wealthy people. There's no such thing as family farmers, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't quite realize it was as top line name heavy as it apparently is. And it makes me very, very mad. Yeah. And I also, I'm like a big campaigner against charity in the nonprofit industrial complex. And this is why.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Okay. So why do you hate? Why do you hate helping people?
I do. I hate it.
Why do you hate people, why do you hate vaccines? Why do you hate vaccines? Why do you love malaria?
Well, if Bill Gates paid any taxes, the government could just fix the malaria problem. Right? But Bill Gates doesn't pay taxes, and he does it privately because it is essentially it's a laundering scheme, right? He's like laundering his reputation. And there's also this idea that like private people can do things that the government can't. No, they can't, because the government is democratic. It's good to choose as a collective how we spend our money. And yeah, I'm of course in favor of ending malaria. I'm in favor of ending lots of diseases, actually, including COVID. Put a mask on.
So you can be vaccinated fools.
Yeah, God. Lafayette vaccination rate is still like 30%. It's absolutely wild. The people who want it can't get it because you have to be online and you have to have it's not as obviously accessible as it should be. And then the people who can get it don't want it because it's Bill Gates putting microchips in you. I'm like, no, that's not why we hate Bill Gates, you dummies. We hate him because he doesn't pay taxes.
Also, like, first off, okay. Who doesn't want a microchip in them?
Right? I mean, that sounds badass. I would not get lost.
No.
Huge.
Can you please upload the GPS directly into my brain?
Yeah. If I show up at somebody's house and I don't know where I am, they can scan me like a lost kitty.
Chip pet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and like, who doesn't want like their 5G to work better? Like, I can tell y'all ain't rurals because like I want my phone to pick up signals everywhere I go.
The number one selling point. But no, seriously though, like the thing that like drives me about this, Gary hates Bill Gates because of Windows. my side gig right now, the job that I'm working is in tech. It's a computer job, and I will say this: if Windows wasn't so shitty, I would have very little to do and make very little money. So like, if it wasn't such a terrible, horrible operating system, I wouldn't. I'd be a little bit more hand in mouth than I am right now. If you know what I mean.
As a committed to bougie opulence as I am, I have a Mac.
Oh.
Yep, I do. You know why? Because I don't want to have to call somebody because my shit's breaking constantly. Or learn how to fix it myself. Ugh, gross. What am I, a peasant?
Just call me. We have very fair rates. It's not a big. But like again on the Gates thing, like and what ends up happening is what is always happening is not only do people like him like try to like launder the reputation. We talked about this actually a while back with Rob Larson, who is the he actually wrote a book on tech people, tech like fuckheads called Bit Tyrants. And one of the things that like he also does in terms of like the laundering of the reputation with the horrible monopolistic practices that he's done, which is like an American tale old as time, but also like he ends up buying up influence in this sort of like non-profit industrial sort of complex and wielding that power to sort of like leverage. I mean, one of the things that he did with the COVID vaccination was that he has such influence in that field that he essentially talked. Was it MIT? It was one of the big brain colleges or whatever. It was either one of the big brain colleges or one of the like, all people have the same blood college. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was Harvard. Maybe it was a blood college. But anyway, he talked them out of essentially open sourcing one of the vaccines. It would end up becoming the AstraZeneca one, and having them basically put a patent on there and force them to sell it for influence them to sell it for profit, which is like, holy fuck, like this is ridiculous. This is the idea of an open source COVID vaccine that people could actually use is that seems like it would be pretty important, especially when you really need to get vaccines like made and rolling. This was a year, maybe half a year ago.
Yeah, I've said this a couple times, but it's not just a moral imperative, it's an existential imperative. Like, we need to stop the vaccine so it stops mutating so we don't all die. Like, we have to do it. It is how we stay alive as a species. It's very important. It obviously like crushes our economy every time there's another outbreak. It kills people. It is not good, and we need to stop it. And that means, no patents, no international barriers on distribution, which includes like if people need the IV bag things or the syringes or whatever. I mean, Cuba right now there's a fundraising thing where a bunch of American Cuban solidarity folks are working together to buy syringes for Cuba because Cuba has managed to make its entire own vaccine. 3 of them, if I remember right. I think they had 5 candidates and there are 3 that seem to function. And they can't vaccinate people because they don't have any syringes because we've had an embargo on them for 60 years or whatever.
It seems bad, doesn't it?
It is so bad. It's so bad. Also, just like the embargo on Cuba is the stupidest thing. I mean, it's just absolutely stupid. Like, there are way more oppressive governments that we have perfectly normalized relationships with.
We love Saudi Arabia. We love.
Oh yeah, and it's like I'm a semi apologist for Cuba. I think Cuba's government obviously has some problems. I think they're too carceral. But I think in general, like most of what we think we know about the Cuban government is propaganda. And most of the problems Cuba has is because there's a goddamn embargo from a very wealthy country next door that is really mad that after all these years, they still haven't figured out how to overthrow it.
Yeah. You can't crush him, so you like get mad at you.
So instead, and it's like, this is just like dumb, salty baby stuff. Just let the Cubans have the plastic so they can make the syringes. Come on.
Well, yeah, and one of the other things that so Cuba like has actually been like super interesting on the sort of whole COVID thing, because they essentially were sending like a group of doctors to like triage places that were affected by COVID, like
like when Italy was really like, taking it in the face, they sent teams of doctors.
2,000 doctors. I'm looking at an article from last year. 2,000 doctors and nurses overseas to fight COVID-19. Like, wow. Like the U.S. would never do that. They would never be able to.
We don't have enough doctors, right? We don't have enough doctors for our own people, because the American Medical Association has capped the amount of people who can be doctors every year. So which is, that's a thing. There is a max number of seats at medical schools. There's a max number of medical schools in general.
So just like
nobody, you couldn't, like if the University of Louisiana Lafayette was like, we want to open a medical school. Nope. Sorry, you can't. You can't just open a medical school. There
the fuck
is a maximum number, and there is a maximum number of seats at these schools. And the American Medical Association, which is basically acting as a union in this case, lobbies and advocates for there to be a max on them so that they can continue to make the amount of money that they make. I swear to God, Jeff, you start peeling back the layers and every single thing is bad. Everything.
Right. Well, I guess the AMA though, like you mentioned that they're like a union, like they're almost like they represent the sort of like capital side of
exactly.
Like it's more or less like a trust of a trust of businesses or whatever.
It's a chamber of commerce essentially,
like that kind of a thing. Like I wouldn't necessarily like consider it. Maybe, I'm not trying to like correct you or whatever, but like it's like a consortium of medical capital interests.
It's a union the way a cop union is a union. Right? It's like their job, like they're acting as a union in the sense that they're representing their members in a democratic way, except the democratic desires of those members is absolutely fucking corrupt and awful.
Or you got to buy your way into it in this particular case too. It's almost like it's acting like a medical chamber of commerce.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. We've lost Jeff. Oh, there you are. Okay. Whew. I was worried I was going to have to say good morning, all the comrades, all by myself. But yeah, so that's a thing. So, of course, one of the big arguments against Medicare for all, of course, is, well, we don't have enough doctors. And it's like, well, yeah, because y'all won't let us have enough doctors. And then it's, well, if people really want to be doctors, they can get it. Like it's like, no, actually, that's not true. If people are poor and can't afford to go to school for 4 years and then go to medical school for 4 more years and then do anywhere from a couple to 7 or 8 year residency, and medical school, of course, you can't get scholarships for. They don't exist. You can only take out loans. Yeah, it's so bananas. It is absolutely meant to like maintain a very small elite.
Yeah. If you don't have money like going into it, you're going to have debt, which is like not uncommon, I suppose.
Sure.
But like, yeah, it definitely puts like huge barriers in front of like actual real life people into becoming doctors. Like it blocks them from doing it, or it makes the costs so high, like in terms of like, oh, well, I'm going to be, I guess, paying this debt off for the rest of my life, or at least a significant portion of it, so that like they have to essentially, like if you can get through the all the medical school and you get out with that debt, you're essentially like you've kind of made it, and your interests actually align with the AMA in a lot of ways, like because you have to fucking get your money.
Yeah.
to pay all that debt off of what, 7 years? Holy shit! I didn't even.
It's so much money. I mean, doctors graduate. I've seen the numbers. I don't remember what they are, but it's like an average of something like $150,000 worth of debt or something. It's nuts. But yeah, it's the whole thing is a racket. Everything is bad. Is I think the moral of that story.
Takeaway.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, listen to your doctor and wear a mask.
Right.
I mean, it is true. It is possible for there to be sort of mixed interests, right? Mm-hmm. It is possible. There is nuance in this world. That said, everything is bad.
Two things can be true.
That's right.
Two things can be true.
The dialectic.
Yeah, that is the dialectic. Yikes. Yeah.
I'm like spinning off into things I'm mad about now.
What else are you mad about? Like, fire away.
Oh, well, what I was gonna loop this back to charities being a problem and to nonprofits being a problem. And one argument is, okay, well, maybe the big nonprofits like the Red Cross, maybe they're bad, but my local nonprofit, they're good.
Right.
It is true that some of them are. Like, some nonprofits are like legitimately like the best solution to a problem that one could come up with, whatever. But a lot of nonprofits are just the same thing on a smaller scale. And if you go like pick your favorite local nonprofit, your favorite like non-cool local nonprofit that you like know is one of your friends and they're running a food program or something and they're, it's a small scale operation. But like pick a prominent local nonprofit, like your local, cancer support organization or a local literacy organization, my personal favorite, and go look at the board of directors. And it's gonna be town's biggest landlord, dude who owns a car dealership, somebody who's doctor's office or something, or the person, these people's spouses. It's all like, here's the power brokers in your town, and they're all on this board of directors. And I would ask myself why. Because it's the same reason. They're laundering their reputations, right? So I worked for a literacy nonprofit, and the board of directors, like literally, I think it was maybe 12 people big or 14 people big. And like more than half of them had sent their own children to private school. And it's like, why do you think we have literacy nonprofits? Because our public schools are a nightmare. Why are our public schools a nightmare? Because all the rich people send their kid to private schools. They spend, in Lafayette, Louisiana, $20,000 a year to send their kid to private school so that they don't have to go to school with the black kids.
Yeah. Well, that's like how things were in, in St. Bernard. It's how things are in Metairie, just like, and that's like basically, in a lot of ways. I mean, and it's not like that, St. Bernard Project in New Orleans, Louisiana is totally not a scam in front for guys' political aspirations. but like one of the things is that like it does totally like funnel a lot of money into these private schools too. Like just to kind of like come off a little bit of a tangent from that, like the charter schools. So essentially, it's like monetizing racism. Like you're essentially monetizing racism from the perspective of, well, the black kids, they can't go to the school because they don't have as much money. So you don't fund the public schools, and essentially you start doing things like vouchers, and you start to like actually subsidize these private schools now, which is what we're doing now, thanks to not just Bobby Jindal, like, but definitely Bobby Jindal.
Also all of Bobby Jindal's friends.
Yeah, well, it's part of like a nationwide effort that like Bobby Jindal was 100% on board for.
And the other problem is, it's not just that they're subsidizing private schools with public funds, but the vouchers aren't that big, right? Like a lot of times the vouchers are $1,500 or $2,000, and the school costs $20,000. So what does that mean? Does that mean that like your poor kid like suddenly can go to the school because of the $2,000 savings? No, it means rich kids get a $2,000 coupon.
Yeah.
And then the money goes to the private school. And it's like, it's rich people like trying to, balance out the amount of property tax they pay on,
I wanted to
their
say
estates.
I don't know where it was, but I wanted to say that there was a story of private schools being abolished in some country.
They
Um,
should be.
they definitely should be. Like they definitely should be outlawed because like they literally like if we're gonna have a public school system and you also have like a sort of like parallel system that is there to undermine it, that is largely populated by like the elites of the society, by the way, and they greatly benefit from it. They're gonna do that. They're gonna undermine it as much as they possibly.
Yeah. Don't let rich people have a method of doing a bad thing, right? Like break the systems that allow them to be awful,
Yeah.
so that they pay taxes and have interest in the public schools and have interest in worldwide vaccine rollout and
You know,
don't give them openings because they'll find them.
and then there's this other thing, like there's this like weird liberal impulse because this is what happened the first time when or not the first time, but like it happened in 2016. I remember when Bernie was talking about free college, and like one of the things that Hillary Clinton said that she didn't want to pay for like Bill Gates's kids or some rich guy's kids to go to school, and it's just like motherfucker, you make them go to public school. You don't like it's not like
Right.
you're paying for them to go to school.
Right.
You're paying to force them to like be in the group with everybody else. You're actually destroying this like this barrier that they can put up around themselves so that they never actually have to deal with like reality or real people. Like that's like that was like one of the most like crazy responses I'd ever heard.
Yeah. Um, and I totally was still a lib then and was like, yeah, no, that's true. I don't want to pay taxes so that I am paying taxes for Bill Gates' kids to go to school. But this is like that was the sort of era in which my liberalism was. There were moments of like reflection, right? Like there are holes in my grand unifying theory, and it's bugging me. And there absolutely is a hole in that grand unifying theory, right? It's like, first of all, there are hardly any people who are as rich as Bill Gates. Like it's not. But secondly, like this siloing of wealthy people into these elite institutions is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like they get to stay away from poor people, but it's also those places become pipelines for, you go to like the fancy private school, you make your friends, then you go to the fancy private college together, you make your friends, and then when you're in the business world, then somebody gets you your first internship at a fancy place that you can afford to take for free, and then you get your first junior manager job somewhere at some firm that does some bullshit job, and that's it. And then it's like you never ever ever have to do anything that isn't just being in your little rich people to rich people pipeline.
Yeah, it just like we talked about bubbles earlier. Like there's no more like bubble shit than that. Like that is like that is peak bubble.
Yeah. And it's old too. It's wild. You read like I've been reading very publicly Black Reconstruction again. But you read old stuff. It's like it was the same thing. Like these rich kids from the South, they all went to West Point.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came home and were like part of this like cool West Point kids thing, and then they built a confederacy. Yeah. Like, because they, you're offering people this like free, I don't know, whatever free method of bad unionizing.
Yeah. Or like, and that goes. I mean, if you think about like the origins of like school and everything. Like there was like prior to public school, essentially only rich people would only go to private schools because there were no public schools. And when when public schools sort of like arrived on the scene, post Civil War, really, they basically got like slapped into that framework essentially of like it wasn't that the public schools had to adapt to the private schools. Like the public school system. Wait, other way around. I said that wrong. The private school system was crafted with the carve outs of the private school. The public schools were essentially carved out around the existing system. I'm not talking right today.
But I got you. It's all the people who it's like, all right, we'll give school to you poors, but like we're not going. That's
we're not changing it. We're not. Come on now. We still we're gonna keep our shit. Like don't be real.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw you a fucking bone, maybe.
And it says a lot that like most private schools in the Deep South, but also in New York City, were founded either like pre-Civil War or during like specifically during the the peak of the civil rights era. Like they're from like 1850 or 1957 or something. Like those are the only times they're from. Because that's what was happening. I mean, I don't know. There's some from in between, but there's like, if you were to put them on a plot, you'd be like,
Yeah, that's wild. I never thought of that. I never really considered it. But
go look at, especially like the Christian Academy type schools. Go look at their founding dates. They're all founded like whatever year that state desegregated. They were like, oh well, us being Christian, we better put our children far away from the children who aren't the same color.
All of a sudden, God's really important to me. It's
so important.
You wouldn't believe it.
Whew.
So anyway, so I guess you mentioned like your sort of like transition from before we do that, you said you're reading Black Reconstruction. Tell me about it. Like so this is Du Bois,
right?
And this is your first time reading it?
No, it's like my fourth time reading it, but it's only my second time reading it as like an avowed, Marxist, like a true leftist. So the first couple times I read it, I totally had like, despite the fact that Du Bois like thwunks you upside the head with liberalism being problematic, was a lib. So I read it as an identity, like as a representation matters book.
Right.
So it's funny, like I tell people, like, you have to read Black Reconstruction. You have to read it. You have to read it.
At least to some extent, he was a self-critical lib, I suppose.
But yeah, so I mean, Du Bois was a communist, right? I mean, he died a member of the Communist Party.
Sure.
And moved to Africa because he was like, fuck this place. Fuck these kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I say all the time, I'm like, did you read Black Reconstruction yet? Like, have you read it yet? Like, and I it became like slightly memeified among a very small group of people on Twitter, because anytime like a news story would come up, it's like, Du Bois said this, actually. He predicted it all and said exactly this. It happens all the time. And so we were like, well, let's do an online book club. And so we've been doing that. We're almost done. Because as it turns out, Black Reconstruction in America is like 9,000 pages long. Not really, but I think it's like 900. I mean, it's very long. I don't know. I can't remember what the actual, I've been reading it on an ebook. So, so it's even longer because I make the text kind of big because I'm I don't have such the strong eyeballs. But yeah, so Black Reconstruction, having read the basics of theory. I mean, I haven't read all of Capital. I haven't read, but I do think that American leftists have to read Black Reconstruction because otherwise, I think theory is really boring. Like, I think action's good. But you have to have some theory or else your action isn't backed up, Good morning. All the comrades. But Du Bois really, like I say, like grand unifying theory, right? Like the way he presents the framework, there are no holes left. There's no like, why does this happen in America? It doesn't happen anymore. Once you get that sort of Du Boisian framework and you're like, yep, literally everything makes sense. It's Marxism, but with a very specific, like, this is what happened in this place with racial capitalism, which does matter, and Du Bois really answers that question, like, is it race or is it class? And he's like, yup, because race is an invention of class. But our class problems can't be solved unless we dig out the racial. Like, those two things they're completely inextricable. You got to figure them both out at the same time. So the
question becomes, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Which I'm not asking you for the answer to that question right now.
Right. No, it's incredibly difficult. And this is,
if you know the answer, please let me know as soon as possible.
Right. I mean, I think my shortest answer would be intentionally. You make a point of it, right? You know that it happened, and you make a point of pushing back in that way. But
sure, that's the short version.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, like, you're sort of like transition and move towards like becoming a leftist or whatever you describe yourself as now. Could you sort of talk about like where you were then and where you are now, and sort of like what the road was to get there?
Sure. I think that I was I've sort of wobbled back and forth, and I think part of my problem was that I still hate theory, but I didn't have a lot of theory, and I was just sort of picking up.
I hate theory too.
Yeah, no, it sucks. It's terrible to read, but I didn't really have any. And so you're sort of picking things up and analyzing them one event at a time and not within a framework. So where I kind of wobbled back and forth between like sort of soft leftism. Like, I would have described myself as a democratic socialist, but I don't think I knew what it meant exactly. Right. Like, I kind of thought it meant libraries, right? Libraries,
by the way.
Yeah, libraries are the best. Extremely pro libraries.
This is a pro library show right here.
100%. So I think where I had kind of landed was sort of in an Elizabeth Warren-y kind of place, like left lib, and quite certain that I was correct about it. Except for there kept being all these little holes that I couldn't quite reconcile, right? And like, people would say things like, oh, that's a good point. And finally it just,
I hate when that happens.
People including Jeff, with whom I argued many a time on the old Bird app.
Most productive place to have a conversation.
Oh my God. They say that tweeting ain't organizing, but it organized me. And you should be glad, because I am extremely highly functional.
There you go.
I mean, not really, but I do manage to pack a lot of work into 1 week. That is a true thing about me. So yeah, I got thrown out of some local Democratic groups for being too left.
Wow.
Because Elizabeth Warren was too left, right? Like, she's a radical for a lot of libs.
Who did people support? Who did they support in like?
Oh, absolutely Biden, and then there was a handful of Bloombergers.
You're talking about like in the 2020 election? In the 2020 election, this is when this happened.
2020, yeah.
Wow.
No, but no, this was earlier than that. Like, this was earlier. Like, this would have been like in 2018. Well, like, it like started in 2017, and then where I would interestingly like get hung up was in racial stuff, because they, Southern centrist libs do not handle race well at all.
They do not.
I mean, at all. And so I got into it with some people about race stuff. And then, so this would have been like in 2017. And then what
kind of things did you get into it about? Like,
okay, well, for example, a prominent leader of a local women's democratic club posted something about, we were talking about maybe doing a boycott because because of some racially insensitive, I don't exactly even remember, but of a local coffee shop, right? But it was like, we're not going to be able to affect much change with a boycott of 30 people. But if you don't want to go there, it's fine. And she sort of burst in with, well, boycotts don't work anyway. And a local Black woman said, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that, like, when my aunt sat in at or refused to get on the bus in Selma, that didn't matter? And she's like, I don't know anything about that, but I will just say that I don't think boycotts matter. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong? What do you mean you don't know about like the wave of bus boycotts in the American South, and you're a Southern Democrat white woman? Okay. So I was like, and so, okay. So my response was that I posted a link to a children's book that.
How dare you?
I was like, this lays it out pretty clearly.
What book?
I can't. There's one about I think I linked to the one. There's one about the Greensboro lunch sit-ins. And I don't remember what it's called, but we had it. Whatever. My son has all of the standard curriculum of picture books about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and so on. But yeah, so anyway, so I committed the rather snarky crime of saying, like, maybe this is at your level. I mean, I didn't even say it. I was like, you might want to read this one.
Yeah. I love books.
I know. I'm like that is exactly the kind of theory I want to get in on.
Like, you know, I mean, obviously there's I mean, I'm not like talking about Lauren Southern's fucking book on like how to be a racist or whatever the fuck, but like
right.
Definitely like you need to have like critical reading for children and all these other things. But like the medium of children's book is actually like extremely straightforward and very, very helpful even for adults. Stop being such a fucking prick about it. Like, I don't know. I'm very defensive.
Yeah, no, totally.
I'm taking class. I mean, I'm a teacher, right? So I'm taking classes on like children's literature and stuff.
Totally. Like and there's some. It's kind of wild. Like when you start reading it with a critical lens, like some of the books are really, really good, and some are not, and they're not always what you'd expect. But I do love. There's a book called Click Clack Moo, Cows That Type. Yeah. Which is about a strike, and it's like extremely like cleverly about a strike. It's like the duck was a neutral party and delivered the ultimatum. And it's like the animals like list their demands, list the terms, and
give up all that leverage at the end.
Yeah, I know, right? Very silly. But you know, like here we go. Let's teach our kids about strikes via this. It's actually very funny book. It's very cute and very funny. It makes no sense. Like click clack moo, cows that type. How do they type? They have hooves that can't be, but they figure it out somehow.
So yesterday we came across this was like a nightmare. We actually watched a couple of these videos, but PragerU just I guess recently started doing video like targeted for children, and holy fucking shit, like PUFK as G Wolf was putting it, holy fucking shit, like they had one on Reagan, it was just like complete utter hagiography. So like obvious, so like and this is I say this for one specific reason, just to kind of like circle back to the children's book thing for 1 second. Like children's books are actually an extremely contested space right now, and it's actually like, I don't know, there needs to be more click clack moos and less like books written by Lauren Southern. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And I think it is something that the left has failed at to some degree. We love to write deep, complex things for each other to read. We grown up people who are already radicalized. But like, you know, just even explaining like basic left concepts, like a strike, like why is it good to have solidarity? You know, things that aren't even like left scandalous, right? Like there are things that are, you know, why are libraries a public good? a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a real sort of dearth of media options, and we definitely are not online. As much as we are online, we are not online in the right ways that are hitting people. So congratulations, y'all. We own Twitter. Great.
The worst website.
We did it.
The worst website.
So bad, but we made it. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think it's really important, and I think we don't do it enough. And just like as a parent, it's like I wish there were more, middle grade left books or whatever. It's and there's the ones that are like, I'm not saying like things need to be cudgels, just present like in all these dystopias, like can somebody present like a utopian society or just like a functional society where people are a little more collectivist? Like just
I have a theory about that, actually. I kind of think that there's so many of these, like, because it's like a cultural theory probably more than anything else, because culture, as much as people like to talk about how like culture informs like the society or whatever, like that's true, but not to the extent that like material conditions of people inform culture. So the reason that we get all these books where people are fucking like oppressed and helpless and like you get 100 Hunger Games books, and by the way, like the Hunger Games was decent, I thought, at least the first book. I didn't really watch the movies, but like that is a reflection of how sort of people feel right now. Like you feel like you're isolated, you feel like you're in this little thing, and you feel like you have to like be put up on this show where you have to like literally murder other people to get by. Like it's a pretty good metaphor, actually.
Yeah, no, totally.
I guess you wanted to sort of like finish your like little story about how you made it towards the left. You got
finally I ended up at a DSA meeting, which I swore I wasn't going to do because I thought, okay, so here's a problem that I had with DSA, and it's still a problem that we don't do enough explaining of. People think DSA is a third party, right? That's why you're joining DSA, because people's only concept of political stuff is electoral, right? It's all they know, it's all they understand. It's the only framework they have. So I don't advocate for a third party because I don't think it makes sense, and also it sounds very boring. That's mostly the reason I don't want to do a third party. I'm like, do you really want to do like a whole party structure? It sounds so boring. But it didn't make sense to me to join DSA and like do this third partying thing.
Mm-hmm. It's like so. And just to really like jump in on the third party thing, like the reason it sucks, like the idea of a third party sucks, is because you're like damning whatever you're going to do to a marginal project.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that was the point of DSA. And I really thought that for a long time. I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't even want to deal. Like, it's not cool. But finally, I was like, I'll go to a meeting and just see. And that's not what they were doing. Like, they had a good presentation about, oh God, I don't remember what the presentation was at my first one. You know what? It was about InfoSec, about like securing your info, specifically like OPSEC style, like at a protest. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about just various projects they were doing, building up a campaign for this or that. And I was like, oh, they're doing stuff? Huh. Also, I will say that, it was extremely, it's like having a pin pulled out of you, just like the deflation of your blood pressure. You feel it like calming to walk into a room where you're not, like it's just a room full of like weird queer commies, and you can just say stuff and it's fine, and you're not going to get looked at funny for like having a crazy opinion, like, libraries are good, or whatever, like wild shit you say. And
it's a place where like things can be like empowering, or at least like you understand that people at least like on a fundamental level agree with you, that like not there is something to be said about like not having to like be on your guard entirely and like ready to pounce and fight on somebody.
Right. And I think people who don't live in places that are super heavily reactionary maybe don't necessarily understand the need for that and how infrequent it is to find a place that feels.
School board meetings in fucking Jefferson Parish are like the fucking savannah, you know?
Yeah. And I felt that way at you know, sort of Democratic women's clubs and at you know, various. It was always either you're in a place where you like have to sit around and talk about how you're going to come to the middle to find common ground or whatever the fuck.
The worst reputation you could possibly ever have with anybody.
God, it's so bad.
How do you take any good project that you could possibly get involved in and make it suck a dozen eggs?
So I went and I saw these people actually doing stuff, and I felt good in the space in a way that I hadn't felt good in any of the Dem spaces. And that's one of the reasons I'm such a big advocate for like make your meetings like fun and comfortable and have snacks and have greeters and have it be like a mega church, right? Like you want all the things that they do. You need somebody to show people around. You need people to do a quick like, hey, okay, so we do this thing called stack. Have people at the ready to do that kind of stuff, because feeling welcome at a meeting, it's why you want to be there. Like people, you can have all the theory in the world, but if people do not feel good in your space, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
So, and any people, right? Like it needs to be, you know, queer people need to feel safe. Young women need to feel safe. People of color need to feel safe.
Everybody.
And not other, except centrists who can fuck themselves.
They need to feel safe.
Deeply unsafe. Yeah. So then it was like, well, I guess this is my place now. I guess I better catch up. So I did some reading, and I spent a lot of time sort of like looking through various DSA publications and whatnot, and like figured out like a lot of the things that I like, even like what my personal definition of the word politics would have been, like it needed a rapid catch up. It was striking that like I was like, oh, I agree with this. Oh, I agree with it. I was not running into any walls, right? And it was like I always have agreed with this. I just didn't have the framework to make it make sense. And the sort of traditional focus grouped framework was sold to me in a better way. So now it's and it's like, yeah, it had holes in it, but
and the reason that was sold to you in a better way is because it's literally done by professionals.
It's a product. Yeah,
to do that.
Totally. And now, hilariously, that's my job. So
you did it. You made it.
I made it. But yeah, it's. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, cool. Well, welcome.
Thanks. I've been here for a few years now. And that was the other thing. Like once I kind of pulled together all my like bits of understanding, it was like, oh, there are no holes anymore. Like there were always these holes in, like I'd have to talk myself out of things in order to like be a committed liberal, Hillary Clinton supporter type. Like you have to say like, well, some people are just gonna fall through the cracks, and it's like, I don't like that, but I gotta admit it because it's just true. And it's like, doesn't have to be actually. You don't have to. Yeah. You don't.
Thinking like that is some cringe shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like if you want to stop compromising with yourself, come on over. Read Du Bois. I'll read it with you. It'll be fun. I'll send you study questions. You'll love them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Megan. We love having you on the show. We love it. But yeah, this has been your daily episode of Good Morning Comrade. Next time you come on, we're gonna have to actually do the bullying of the mayors.
Bully the mayors.
Yeah. So, do you have any?
Can I do a mini bully the mayor?
Absolutely.
It's June. It's Pride Month.
Which mayor are you bullying?
We're gonna bully Josh Guillory. Last year, Josh Guillory said, "I will not declare Pride Month because I do not believe in making declarations of months or whatever, because whatever. And then like in the ensuing year, he's made like 15 different month declarations for all sorts of shit. It's like we've had like t-shirt month and ink pen month and whatever, but now it's Pride Month again, and Josh Guillory will not declare a Pride Month in Lafayette because fuck them queer kids, I guess. Is the
an asshole.
he's such a shithead. Josh, I hope you hear this.
On de Blasio?
De Blasio. De Blasio. De Blasio, what can one say? It's like he's like, it's like way to be just like just forever. You almost made it. You almost could have even been bad. You almost could have been good, but you just had to be like, I don't have like the
by the cops. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just like way to just be like a completely average centrist corporate Democrat. Yeah. Great job. You did it. You threaded the needle of sucking as much as one can without becoming a Republican. Right. Congrats.
And he ran like for mayor, like on his son, like I'm very concerned that my son is gonna be like murdered by police or whatever.
Yeah, and now he's like but don't worry, he won't be now because I'm friends with him.
Yeah, we're cool now. The cops are good.
They told me it was good. We're good.
Anyway.
I made playing cards like they had for troops in Afghanistan with his face on them. Every cop gets one.
Oh no! That actually
didn't really. No,
I would believe that.
But it was a real thing in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Like the Taliban playing cards, right?
Well, anyway, thank you so much, Megan. Anything you want to shout out while you're here?
Not in particular. No, I don't think so.
All right, follow her on Twitter at Megan Romer. Yeah. You can be like Ty Jitty, Michael H, Dan O, Jonathan H, Timothy C, Dragon Slayer 19, Andy L, Gary W, Rachel K, Kenneth F, Adam R, Trey M, Watermelon Pickle, and Penelope D by going to patreon.com and helping keep this show alive. Patreon.com/Good Morning Comrade. Thank you so much, Megan. When are you coming back on?
Whenever. I'm always up for it, but I am always going to bring my coffee and yogurt because I wake up. I woke up literally 10 minutes before this started.
Me too.
That is I'm rolling in messy hair pajamas.
That's why I got the hat.
Yeah. It's Good Morning Comrade. It's morning. Like, who are we kidding here, folks?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Love everybody. Bye.
Bye.